Sure. The criminal code amendment we're dealing with, the two main areas. One, we're addressing the sentencing provisions as they relate to murder and what was premeditated murder. So we've taken away the concept of premeditated murder, and it all comes under the head of murder now. And what basically it allows to do is that any offence of murder carries a life sentence, but then the length of time to be served before one is eligible for parole is in the hands of the judge. So it becomes a judge's discretion. So if it's a really, really bad crime with the premeditation, somebody loads up with a gun and goes after a particular person, and there's full planning for it, that would be a really, really serious type of offence at the top end of the scale. And the judge may be able to say they wouldn't be eligible for parole before 28 years or something like that. If it was the type of crime, as I illustrated in the house, where you had a husband who was on life support system, and his wife knew he wanted to die, and the machine was going on, and she went in and turned it off, that would be premeditated, but a very, very different crime, despite the fact it was premeditated. So that would come under the umbrella for murder. In that type of case, a judge might say he'd pass a mandatory sentence, but say that you were eligible within 6 months, if any time like that, to allow for the nature of the crime. And that was fixing basically something that happened last year in relation to Privy Council decision as it related to their ruling in regards to our sentencing policies that we had in place under the old law as related to murder offences. And there was a lot of public concern. In fact, we were concerned. I was very concerned because the Privy Council, in effect, lowered those sentences, and they were sentences I think that people felt were just. So we've remedied that so that won't happen again. The other one is the provision of when people are convicted of serious offences and it's proven that they're involved in a gang, then we've addressed those tariffs so that they can receive an additional sentence for the fact that it was a gang-related offence. So, for instance, if it was a robbery with violence, they might get a 5-year sentence, a 6-year sentence, and they can have an additional sentence in relation to the fact that they did it whilst a member of a gang and were doing it related to gang activity. So it's really addressing if you're committing an offence whilst you're in a gang or as part of a gang activity, you're going to get an extra punishment for that. And these are things I think that, in looking at it, there was a lot of public outcry in relation to that. There's been a lot of public outcry in relation to gang activity, and despite the fact that the Minister and the police and I think the government has done a great job, it speaks for itself in the last 14 months in relation to curbing gang violence because of the policies that we've implemented. We want to be ensured that carries on and that we have the right punishments to act as a deterrent and also to fit the crime.